for the best astrology guidance? You can enjoy an entire month of personalized astrology services for just $3.99. At Serious Joy, we pride ourselves on providing astrology enthusiasts with exactly what they're looking for. Daily personalized inspiration that speaks directly to the heart. Sign up today and you'll receive personalized messages straight to your phone 7 days a week. And that's just half of it. You'll also get access to our exclusive members-only site with tons of amazing features. Experience the most accurate astrology service on the web at SeriousJoy.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, streaming live on all platforms that we are belonging to. We are on Twitter, we are on LinkedIn, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and we are uniting the light here today at Serious Joy. Welcome to this new edition. It's so nice to have you all here with us today. We are now back in the seat, so to speak, of now broadcasting on a regular basis. And I guess the first thing to sort of talk about is to say hello to all of our viewers out there. We'll do a real quick hello to some people. Hello, Miss Nikki. Hello, Imani. Hello, Jenny Pepper. Hello, Jennifer Dove. Oh, so nice to see you. Hello, Ava Dillon. Hello, M. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to have you here with us today. I really loved the energy last week, I have to say. There was really nothing like it ever as far as broadcasting before, really feeling everyone come together. I just want to say out there, this is a live show, so this is unplugged. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be as organic as possible, but I do rely on the viewers to let me know if something's going wrong, such as volume, or if something doesn't work or you can't see something, please let me know. I do appreciate it. And because I get really deep in the astrology, I think I'm going to do some announcements first at the top of the show so that I don't have to remember towards the end, because I always forget in the end and then I regret it. So first of all, I do want to say we have a really special time coming up here at Serious Joy. And what it's called is the 40 Days of Self-Love. Now, if you're not familiar, I have a personal sensei service, which takes your date of birth information, and we provide daily content with a team of practitioners to help you on your way. And this 40 Days of Self-Love is very special because this year, it's going to also go down with the Venus Retrograde. So we are redesigning a little bit of the 40 Days of Self-Love. If you've done it before, you haven't done it this way, because we're going to do the same sort of journal prompts, but we're also going to be doing a special Venus Retrograde journal prompt, and all of our practitioners are going to sort of huddle around this. We're going to have special heart activation with Kristen Ryder, who is our sound drop host and also a music therapist. We're going to have a special sort of section connecting to Archangel Ratziel with Devin Dewar, our angel intuitive. Archangel Ratziel is basically the angel for personal dreams and for connecting to your life path. So we'll be doing that special programming. Robbie Hunt has some special programming coming out too, but I don't have it listed as of just yet. And of course, the pep talks themselves will be all modeled around our 40 Days of Self-Love and trying to understand how to maximize on Venus retrograde. So if you don't know, it begins coming up this Saturday, July 22nd. It's just $3.99 for the first month of subscription. This is a 40-day program. You can cancel at any time, but I recommend you stay through September 3rd when we actually do this. And basically, everyone has described to me that this is one of the most transformational programs they've ever done. If you're a person who is not connected to your heart, or you're not necessarily in line with your life purpose, this exercise is superb. And this year with the Venus retrograde, I think it's going to be out of this world, so to speak. So live TV, I'm getting used to it. So anyways, if you want more information on that, visit seriousjoy.com to sign up. And we start this Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Also, I just want to put out there our links to follow us on social media. We now have a new Linktree page. So we have one page that has all of our links and everything that we have our access to, including my bio, including getting on our email list. To get there, go to seriousjoy.social. Seriousjoy.social will take you to our Linktree. All right. And I think that's it for the announcements. I want to just get those off my plate. It's so good to be here, folks. Gosh, I'm really feeling better in Cancer than I've ever felt before in my life, actually. I'm not sure how you are feeling. Let me know in the chat on how you're feeling. But, most Cancer seasons, one of the things that's interesting about this one is that we've cleared out a lot of our karma because of Saturn and Pisces. So I think we're feeling a bit healthier than we normally feel because we have faced a lot of our core issues in the last couple of years. I'll be talking about that today. And you know what? Here I am live, and I forgot to run the time clock here. So 1 second, and I'll be right with you. My stopwatch. There's always something I forget. Here we go. All right. And today's show will be a little bit lighter than last week's show. If you haven't seen last week's show, it is on YouTube. It's on all of our platforms. I go into some great detail to catch us up to date with where we are so far in the planets. And I go into depth about some of the major changes going on back from April until this point here in July. So if you want to get caught up with all the astrology so far, I recommend you watch the first hour. It was 2 hours last week. The first hour of last week's show will catch you up on where things are going. One of the areas that I've kind of evolved as I was doing the old Namaste Today, the old Namaste Todays would be almost 2 hours long. And although I enjoy doing that, I was spending a lot of time reviewing. And so now I'm going to be incremental, which means that I'll just do a little bit of catch up each week, and then I'm going to dive into what's original for the given week. And I like to also do every week a little summary of what you can expect in the upcoming week. In fact, you may remember I used to have a feature called the Zodiac Weather. And so today, to kick things off, let's start off with the Zodiac Weather, and then we'll get into what's going on for this month. So here's our new 7-day forecast Zodiac Weather. This Zodiac Weather is for the week of Saturday, July 15th to Friday, July 21st, 2023. Starting with your weekend moodcast. This weekend is really a countdown to the new moon, with the moon in Gemini in Cancer. On Saturday, it's sunny and mystical. Step 22 rules the day, so expect a surprise in how your future homestead will go. You may make different plans, and you're starting to feel your feelings about your personal karma. On Sunday, it's sunny and dreamy. Step 23 rules the day, which means our mind is the ruling state of awareness. This will be the day where you come up with the new vision for your home and family homestead, and you're now starting to feel the newness of the new moon. And now on to our weekday 5-day moodcast. On Monday, it's sunny and cozy for the new moon in Cancer. Step 24 rules the day. This is a Venetian new moon. It will be quiet, it will be cozy, it will be comfortable. And we're aspected with 2 extra additions to this party in space. Mercury squares Jupiter, calling on us to find our alignment and integrity with our heart and also with our self-worth. And the North Node moves into Aries for the first time since December 2004. On Tuesday, it's partly cloudy and hopeful. Step 25 means Neptune rules the day. You are connecting to your greater spiritual direction and your destiny. And the moon continues now into Leo, which means there's a highlight on self-love issues. On Wednesday, it's sunny and rather serious. Step 26 means Saturn rules the day. And with this Saturn energy, you are committing to your new homestead, family, or foundation. This is definitely the day to sign the contract or put down the down payment. And Jupiter progresses to step 12 Taurus, which means your lifestyle is moving into new territory. On Thursday, it's sunny and strong for Love Fest Day, the most loving day of the month. Tell your friends you love them and be sure to love yourself. Mars rules the day, with step 27 being the active step. You are now moving forward and acting on the needed improvements for your home, family, and foundation. You might also have a tug-of-war between reality and faith with Mars opposing Saturn, and the moon moves into Virgo, shifting focus to your health and welfare. And then finally, it's Friday. And on Friday, it's sunny and stable. Step 28 means the Earth rules the day. You are now shifting your emotional focus on the tone and committing to the emotional feeling you want your home to have. Not only that, the moon in Virgo makes us very meticulous about detail, and the sun opposes Pluto at 29 degrees later in the day, which means you may feel a fight for your freedom. All right, and we're back. Wow, that was good. Yay. We're bringing these features on and back. I want to say thank you to Miles and Sarah for whipping out that graphic package in time for the show today. That's a great feature that we have. That's a quick little summary. Well, actually, we will release that actual video file later in the week too, so you can go back and see your week in advance and get an idea of the week to come. That's the whole point, I think, with astrology, is that we have the ability to, plan our lives and to know how things are going to happen. So Zodiac Weather is back, and we now have 7 days. We have the weekend forecast. So let's dive in, shall we? Let's waste no time and let's get into the planets and transits and what's going on for us. Right now, let me kind of catch us up just a little bit. I do want to rewind just slightly, not in super depth, but we're in a very, very unique time, I believe, in our world history and in our personal history. We're in a place now where we are ready to move on and really express our uniqueness here on the planet and do what we were come to do, which I call the story we were born to live. And we've been transitioning from our karmic story for the last couple of years, since 2020 or so, to the story we were born to live. And that's represented, in my opinion, by Neptune in the high degrees of Pisces. Whenever Neptune is in Pisces, we get a clear connection to our spiritual purpose. And I believe we all had intentions. We all had a bucket list. We all had expectations when we manifested on the planet. And some of those were to heal from prior wounds. And I think that was necessary for the age of light and for us to bring the earth to a higher vibration. And then secondly, I believe we came here in order to change the earth and bring it to the higher realms. Commonly in our business, we call this the fifth dimension. Ascension is another popular term. Enlightenment is what Buddhism has called it. However you want to coin it, I think we're all looking at the same thing, that humanity does at some point overcome some of our violent tendencies and overcome our self-destructive habits and begin to use our talents for peace and love and unity and coming together as one. That's the dream anyways. But I don't think it was just a pipe dream in the 60s when they were singing about the age of Aquarius. I truly believe, as I was born in this life, that this was a special lifetime. And I think we all have our spiritual work cut out for us, ahead of us. In fact, I believe that many of the people probably watching this stream or have been watching me for the last 17 years now. That's right. It's been 17 years that I've been doing this. It's amazing how time flies. I believe a lot of people who've been watching me are here to be leaders and motivators, or at least a case example of what this potential happiness can be. And I believe that as we are ending up our Pluto and Capricorn transit and starting to dip our toe into Pluto and Aquarius, this really is the call time for a shift in generational power. So I believe it's now time for the age of light and for the leaders of light to step forward. And I believe many of us are on the planet to do this simultaneously. Now, with that said, I think that we're actually on the cusp of that this summer. I believe that this summer, or the winter in the Southern Hemisphere, whichever you may be tuning in from, is the transition time officially where we see a generation of leaderships start to step down. We see new products, new ideas, new innovations stepping forward. And we see new solutions for humanity's troubles coming forward. In fact, this week, we have the North Node moving into Aries. And from my looks of things, this North Node in Aries is officially the cue to go forward, cueing us to go on stage and follow what we're here to do. Now, what does that mean in simple terms that everyone can digest? It means that we all have a dream in our heart, and that's our contribution to humankind. Whether that dream was to sell sports cars or to create art or to help children or to travel the world and write about it, the secret formula is, if you're living in your heart, you are doing God's work. And I'll put it again, if you're living in your heart, you're doing God's work. Ultimately, enlightenment, in my opinion, is us living through the heart versus living through ego and living through the mind. Of course, we're going to have these other states of awareness, but I believe living in our heart is the key and the gateway and the path to our personal enlightenment. And this summer, in fact, in about a week, we have a Venus retrograde, which I talked about with the 40 days of self-love on Serious Joy. And that Venus retrograde, I believe, is our getting deep with our heart, healing the last wounds we have in our heart, represented by Black Moon Lilith in Leo, and then finding what our heart truly desires to do. So we're on this cusp. Now, with that said, as we entered into Cancer this year, I looked at the month of July as hearth and home, getting the castle in order. So I believe that what we've been doing in Cancer has been relating to our emotions in a new way. And that new way is on the one hand, really solidifying the emotional support that we need for ourselves so that we don't continue our karma or repeat our karma. That's one side of it. And the other is so that we have the emotional foundation in place with ourselves, or the home and family unit and the foundation unit, which I think is also important. We all need emotional support. We all need people to cooperate with our care. Having the home family foundation in order so that we can express our greatest genius and our greatest creativity. And that's what we've basically been facing here with the sun in Cancer, is reorganizing our emotional care. And that goes back to what I was saying here at the very beginning of this broadcast, which was that this particular, so far, and I'd love to hear from our subscribers, I'd love to hear from people watching the show in the chat, this Cancer season for me has been the calmest, the most neutral, the less dramatic, the most comforting Cancer I've ever experienced. And I believe that's due to the energy in Pisces. In fact, let's kind of go through some of the subplots real quickly, and then we'll dive into what this week is about. So, as I mentioned, we're in Cancer now, and it's the hearth and home, getting the castle in order. That's our theme. But one of the other themes that we've had going on has been Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. And this has been where we have been ending some of our subconscious sabotage that we've had. Saturn entered into Pisces in March. Neptune's been in Pisces since 2012, but now Neptune's in the high action degrees, the actionable degrees of Pisces, and Saturn's in the low degrees of personal karma. So I believe that part of the reason why this Cancer season is much lighter, for me anyways, than it has been in other times, is because that Saturn in the early degrees of Pisces has been helping us to take responsibility for our karma with ourselves, particularly where we self-sabotage, particularly where we're hard on ourselves, where we're unforgiving of ourselves, where we are brutes to ourselves. And ultimately, I believe we are the ones that always hold our potential back. And so this year, especially with the sun trining Saturn in the early degrees of Cancer, we've really been able to step up and notice the madness of the cycle and end some of those cycles. So this week, Saturn is at step 6, Pisces. So one of the themes of this week is we are sort of mastering and perfecting our relationship to ourselves. And by perfecting, I mean being compassionate and self-forgiving. Now, compassion, in my opinion, is bringing love to pain or suffering. So when we are loving to our pain or suffering that we are experiencing in ourselves, we are bringing the God consciousness of love to ourselves. That is what compassion is. The same would be true to outside forces, that if we are loving to someone else's pain or someone else's suffering, we are being compassionate to that person. So I will say that as we have a new moon this week, it's really important, looking at the week, that we maintain this place of self-compassion, because the new moon is planting sort of a seed of manifestation, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to show the chart for this week, but it's planting a seed of manifestation that is going to be the emotional potting soil of what we grow. So it's really important. I'm going to give you a hall pass right now that you are kind and compassionate to yourself this week. And you know what? If you can't be, for the whole year, well, then just do it for this week for yourself. Just do it for you 1 week. Make that promise for yourself 1 week, because the new moon on Monday, I believe, is very potent. Us launching it is very potent, and this is the beginning of our creative forces before the Venus retrograde. So being compassionate is important. The other aspect that I think is important for the whole week is to really own your value. This week, Jupiter is at step 12, Taurus. Uranus is at step 22, Taurus. And 12 means that it's a grandmaster step number for Jupiter, which means that we're going to be forging a new belief in ourselves. And this belief in ourselves will last probably for about 12 years. We'll do some rewrites when Jupiter retrogrades back over it later in the year, but this is a new belief. And this new belief is probably that you are capable of manifesting change in your life that you did not believe you were capable of before. Now, what I want to put out there is it's really important when it comes to crafting belief. Belief is what our heart feels is true. That's step 1 and step 2. What our heart feels is true. So again, this week, we are building this new belief of self-worth. And so what I implore you to do, if you dare to try, is to go with what your heart feels is possible today or this week or in this life, rather than what your mind is telling you. Mercury is in Leo, so our mind is very much tied to our heart right now and thinking for our self-love and thinking for our creative projects. But give yourself the benefit of the doubt this week. Again, this is a very important week because it's a new moon week. We're planting very powerful seeds. This new moon is going to be our emotional castle that we birth our golden egg from, or our golden age from. And we really want that belief bubble to be solid and give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. For me, I always put out in motion, I'll believe it when I see it, but until then, I will believe it. So, we will verify. That's the way the world is. You have to see evidence of it, but you have to stay open and hold that belief tone until you start to see the seeds of what you were intending. And some people call that faith, and I think faith is part of it, but I also think it's belief. Now, what's going to happen that's very interesting is because of Uranus being up at 22 degrees Taurus at the same time this week, as you start to believe in the possibility to change your life and make your life different, you will probably start to see the possibilities of the future transform. And that's one of the interesting things about Uranus and its grandmaster state. Currently, let's put it this way. Right now, if you wanted to go and be a musician right now, there are certain limits to that, as we all know, music labels, all sorts of things, limits as far as people have to find you on the internet. And what Uranus at 22 Taurus is doing is actually shattering some of those glass ceiling limitations. And I think the key to shattering those limitations and transforming those limitations is Jupiter at 12 degrees Taurus, that you stronghold believe. Jupiter goes from 11 to 12, actually. It starts as 11 and moves to 12, to be specific. In fact, it goes to 12 right after the new moon, so that you really are in integrity with what you believe is possible with yourself, and you believe that it is possible to change your life like you have, like never before. Now, if you need a memory to go back to with Jupiter in Taurus, 2011 to 2012, Jupiter was in Taurus, and 1999 to 2000, Jupiter was in Taurus. So you probably had things that opened up and manifested during that time that you that you ultimately did not expect or did not believe was possible. And that's one of the great things about Jupiter and Taurus, is it's creating things that are beyond our belief, beyond what we understand and know. So you have to see it, and then you really believe it. So a big theme of this week is staying in belief of your potential and not going into your self-doubt. Moving on to some other themes going on this week, and then we'll get into like the specifics of the week and the nitty-gritty of it. We now have Venus in Leo. We'll be talking about this, and Black Moon Lilith in Leo. And Venus on the new moon will reach step 28, which is the stationary degree of Venus retrograde. And right after the new moon apex, Venus will retrograde on July 22nd, late that night, I believe. Is it 22nd, or is it looking here at my stuff here? It is July 22nd, right after we apex. Yeah. So looking at my notes, I got notes everywhere. Now Venus in Leo is us opening up. So when Venus is our ability to tune into our heart automatically. Venus is a line from the heart and the outside world. That's what Venus really connects. That's what Libras connect. They connect one heart to another. That's what relationships are based on, is connecting one heart to another. So having Venus in Leo just to begin with gives us the power to connect to our heart like we never have through the rest of the year. Venus in the high degrees of Leo means that we're connecting to our heart's highest purpose, what I call our golden egg or our golden age or our personal dreams. Venus will hit step 28 this week, which means that we're going to commit step 8 to our feelings of what our joy wants to be. So that's my instruction. Our first instruction for the 40 days is to identify the feeling of your dreams coming true. You don't necessarily have to know what the dreams are. You don't have to have a plan for it. You don't have to have people on board or financing for it or anything like that at all. Just to be connected to what that feeling is. And what I'll be guiding our subscribers on in the 40 days of self-love is we'll constantly be bringing that feeling of joy and happiness up again. We'll be working on little devices to artificially bring that joy up by having certain memory cues and things like that. But ultimately, what we want to do is begin the law of attraction of bringing our heart's truth. And the way that happens is you fill your heart with love and you sort of commit to it and hold that note as long as you can. And with Black Moon Lilith at 20 degrees and moving up to 21 degrees this week, it does mean that we are going to face fears of our heart not getting what we want. So one of the things about the dynamic of this Venus retrograde is that it's very much faith versus fear, or love versus fear. And that fear is Black Moon Lilith. That's our fear of being hurt, our fear of things happening in the past, our fear of our heart not getting what our heart really desires and wants. And so I think part of the challenge that really begins as we get into the higher degrees of Cancer and move into the Sun in Leo is that we choose love over fear. And this, I have to say, I have never seen in my astrological experience a time where God was giving us such a clear choice between love and fear as this Venus retrograde and Black Moon Lilith. And as Venus retrogrades, she will cross over Black Moon Lilith. And so we will, I believe at one point during this 40 days of retrograde, we will at one point completely face our fears about our heart's loss for good. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out there. What that means is to face your fears for good means that there may be a moment, and I just want to prepare everybody for this. This is why you have to have your emotional castle in order. This is why you have to be comfortable and have a very cozy, grounded, family-orientated or family with your pets situation, is because I think this Venus retrograde is going to be the deepest exploration of our heart we've ever had in our entire life. And because Venus retrograde crosses over Black Moon Lilith at one point, and I don't have the date here handy, I just didn't think about it until really now. So I'll have it for you next week on when that date happens. Venus retrograde in general is always a past life opening. So when Venus is the magnifying glass, and it's the magnifying glass to the heart. So when Venus is direct, the heart is looking outward into our life, looking into our future. When Venus is retrograde, we're looking inward to our heart. We're looking inward to our past, particularly the history our heart has gone through in past lives. So I would imagine that a Venus retrograde conjoining Black Moon Lilith and Leo means that we will come face to face at some point in this transit with a terror that broke our heart in a past life. Now you may go, what does that mean? Well, it means that you could have a dream that is so real that reminds you of some sort of a past life trauma. It means you could have a near miss, okay? A near miss would be something like, let's say in a past life, you lost a child and that was the tragedy. And so ever since this whole life, you've been afraid of, losing your children. You've been afraid of losing creative projects. You haven't quite known why. So perhaps around the time of Venus crossing over Black Moon Lilith, maybe you'll lose your dog in the neighborhood for like 6 hours and not know where your dog is. Your dog will be recovered, I believe, but it'll be a moment the universe hijacks in order for you to face that fear and survive through it. And that's one of the things that happens on a major Black Moon Lilith conjunction. Now, because this is happening globally, it's quite possible that we as a society, when this happens in the Venus retrograde, we as a society might face something that society fears, and we may as a community all go into that space together as well. That's possible. So I think it'll be both, to be honest. I think that there'll probably be things that happen in the world that face sort of humanity fears. And I think those will then be tied to our own personal lives and how we manage that. And that'll be tied to our own ability to face those fears. So I put it out there so that you're aware, and so that you can expect the unexpected, and that you can know when this happens that Sensei said it is not going to actually happen what you're afraid of. I have never seen a Black Moon Lilith conjunction turn into a real thing. In fact, the whole point of her existence, in my opinion, is to release our fears. And of course, what we must do is choose love. And you may wonder, well, how do you choose love versus fear. How does one really do that? Like, what's that look like anyways? We hear that all the time, but what does it look like? It has to do with where you put your attention. Where you put your attention is where you put your energy. So let's say you have the fear of losing your pet, or the fear of losing your partner, fear of losing something. That fear comes up. You want to say, hello, fear. Thank you for teaching me what I am having problems with. So be kind to the fear, and then choose deliberately to go into your heart space and think about something you love. All right. And of course, you can think about your dog, and that would be an easy way to remedy that. If you're concerned about losing your pet, I'm not talking about death, by the way. I'm talking about lost them in the neighborhood. I don't want to plant new seeds that are tough. So instead of thinking about your pet being lost, you would think about how much you love your pet the first time you saw your pet, when you brought your pet home, filling your heart with those loving ideas and feelings of the good times versus the negative. Now, I believe that this work of facing our dark fear, and I'm putting it out there because I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I know when the conjunction happens, it'll be over by then, but I also know people manifest at their own pace, and also the collective conscious manifests in its own way. So it's possible that you may face it much sooner before the Venus Black Moon Lilith conjunction happens, or the Sun Venus conjunction, which will be another powerful turning point of this 40 days. But I believe that this is sort of a final test for the love walkers, as I call it, people here to walk the love on planet Earth, people here to be inspiration on planet Earth. I do believe, and this isn't something I felt from my guides in conversation in my own meditation, that this retrograde is going to convince people that they are ready to be leaders now, and they are ready to move forward and share and spread that light. So you could say in some ways, it's sort of a final test for those who are onto the master path. And that's something we've been talking about a lot at Serious Joy, is the master path. We've been working on our spirituality since 2012. And I believe there's a class of spirits that are now over their karma with themselves, over their karma with the world, except for karma around success and the good things, and now are ready to graduate to their leadership role in the age of love and the age of light. So this little dance with the shadow of Black Moon Lilith and Venus together, I believe, is to some degree the final test we're going to face. In other words, once that happens, we will no longer doubt our light or our love in our heart, and we will give the benefit of the doubt to our heart and the benefit of the doubt to light. So I believe this 40 days coming up, starting soon here, starting really on 0 degrees Leo, which is going to be next Monday. Is that right? No, actually it's coming out at the end of this week. I'm getting used to the new weeks. It comes up at the end of this show, basically. So by the way, I'll just right now, I've changed the way I'm doing my shows now, because I go live on Friday. I'm now constituting a week from Saturday to Friday now. So that's why I'm in my head. So it's really happening after our next show is when we go into Leo. But I'm putting it out there now because I think that these challenges may come at any time based on people and their personal timelines. So surrendering to our heart, committing to the feelings of joy, choosing love over the fear. It's never been more important than now to choose love over fear, because I believe it graduates you to the next level, puts you on the path for self-mastery, puts you on the path for enlightenment, puts you into the role of being a spiritual leader for your sphere of influence. And I do believe the universe has planned on hundreds of thousands of us being in our heart at the right time, populated all around the world in a specific area that will influence the people around us who are maybe needing a little support and not quite ready yet to do it. All right. Okay. And let's see here. I want to still clearing up from that chest cold I had last week. So I'm just going to mute for that. All right. Those two subplots, two more subplots, and we're going to go into what's going on. The other is Mars is now in Virgo. So Mars in the early degrees of Virgo this week means that your ego is sort of kind of over parts of yourself, and Mars is starting to oppose Saturn in Pisces. So part of the theme of this week is that your ego is going to be rambunctious, responsive, critical, judgmental, over parts of your reality. And so a good way to put this is you're going to just be like over it. You're going to be so over yourself about certain things. And the trick of this energy is to choose the compassionate part where you bring love to your suffering and love to your pain, and not choose to put your attention on your ego that is irritated. Mars and Virgo there, I think, is for us to get our ego behind our healing, get our ego behind our health in these early degrees. But because it opposes Saturn, it's also our ego being tested not to fall into the old self-deprecating behavior that we may have. So if you beat yourself up about things, if you're hard on yourself, if you judge yourself, I think the volume for that potential will be higher with Mars in the early degrees of Virgo. You might have already caught yourself that way. Also, be very careful with your health and walking carefully, because I have found that people can be a little accident prone when Mars is in the early degrees of Virgo. But if you're focused on your action, you're focused on your body, I've also found that Mars in Virgo allows you to perform like no other. In fact, that's the thing with Mars and Virgo, we are task masters. We can really get a lot of shift done right now, but because it's opposing Saturn, you want to make sure you choose the compassion and the forgiveness and letting yourself off the hook for the past and not getting on yourself or getting harder on yourself. This is not a time to be harder on yourself. This is a time to try harder for yourself. Okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Try hard for yourself. That's my my advice for the week. All right. Here we go. Boy, time flies when I'm live. I love seeing all the comments. Everyone, thank you for commenting and sharing. We're going to go here to this coming week now. I'm just flipping pages, and I've got to actually launch one thing here. So, okay, good. We have it. Want to make sure I had that. All right. Okay. So looking at the week ahead, I'm coining this week, and let me get to the week here before I say it. Creating the new homestead, planning for Excalibur. And why do I say planning for Excalibur? Well, that's because of one other subplot that I haven't brought up yet, which is that the North Node is moving into Aries here soon. In fact, it moves into Aries in the very beginning of the week after the new moon. That's what I was thinking about. It's the North Node that changes on the new moon. And we go into the sun in Leo on the 23rd, late 22nd. So Saturday the 22nd is when the sun goes into Leo, and Venus retrogrades late on the 22nd. But the North Node in Aries, I'll just put out there before we talk about this week. Thank you. I love you too. Just saw a comment. And I'm saying that to Nephora. Nephora, thank you. The North Node moving into Aries is a pretty big deal. And this is the other reason why this is such an important time. The North Node will begin at step 29 Aries, which is going to square Pluto at step 29 Capricorn. And what this is a real push for our ego to go forward. So this is why I have been teaching people to exercise what I call the winged ego instead of the old ego or a birth ego. And the winged ego, by theory, is ultimately us making our ego's job the expression of our heart. So I believe our less evolved self, the ego, was completely autonomous, and the ego worked for a basic principle, which was survival. But human beings have obviously overcome the basic tenets of survival. Of course, there's always people who are lagging behind and having a hard time survive. And there are always people who are way beyond survival and they're living in crazy abundance. But for the most part, humanity has overcome our issues with survival. And so now that the North Node is in Aries, we're being instructed to go forward with our ego now and to take action. In fact, step 29 is a very reactive step to our ego, because the 9 is our ego and the 2 is our feelings. So what this means is our ego is going to be very responsive to our feelings. Now, for a less evolved ego, this would be an opportunity to act out or act in, which is to bully the world because you're not feeling good, or to bully yourself because you're not feeling good. And again, with Mars in the early degrees of Virgo, we might be very triggered by our own stuff and our own history of our own stuff. But the North Node in Aries is the first time since 2004, Christmas 2004, like early December 2004 was the last time the North Node was in Aries. In 2014, it was flipped with the North Node in Libra and the South Node in Aries. But let's go back to 2004. Really, 2005 was pretty much when we experienced the North Node in Aries. Now, that was actually the year that I created and went forward with Soul Garden, my first brand. For those of you who go that far back, shout out to the Soul Gardeners out there. So I remember distinctly feeling this call to action that I need to get forward. Now, back then, I thought, honestly, this is how visionaries are, by the way. So if you're a visionary and you have a vision for the future, I thought in 2004, we were on the cusp of mankind transforming. That's what it felt like. I felt this urge and this urgency to get spiritual messages out there to help people with their astrology, to help people heal. And I'm glad I did, because it's been, I've been doing this thing for over 17 years now. In fact, it's 18 years that we have a cycle with the North Node. So this was the year before I launched Soul Garden. I launched Soul Garden in 2006. It took a year of planning, basically. But the same energy is going to happen as well, starting on this new moon. As soon as the new moon hits, it's very short after that the North Node goes into Aries. And we suddenly feel this shift of direction. The North Node has been in Taurus, which has been focusing on the invisible. So that is to build up your nest egg, to build up your values, to build up your self-worth. Now the North Node is saying, go for it. The North Node is saying, act, don't talk, do. And not only are we having that energy of the North Node saying, go forward, but it's squaring Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, which means that the actions that we're taking, try to get here, I don't disappear. The actions that we're taking are going to disrupt control and power at the highest degrees. So we're going to start to feel society get into a bit of a gridlock, because where people were tolerant before with the North Node in Taurus, and people were tolerant with the North Node in Gemini when things are going down, people will not be tolerant anymore. And with the South Node in Libra, people are going to be willing to turn their backs on organizations, turn their backs on families, turn their backs on associations like unions, turn their backs on big government, basically all the big unions of people, which are the high degrees of Libra, in favor for their ego's intention. So this is why it's really important to really have that nest egg, to really this week, as we create the new homestead, it's really important that you have a place that is safe, that you are connected to your caregivers, that you are clear on who you're here to care and help care for, and that you have your nest egg sort of in place, because I think the earth is going to get a bit uncomfortable. And the subtitle for this week is Planning for Excalibur. Now, if you're not familiar with the King Arthur legend, Excalibur was King Arthur's magical sword. And I believe in this context, our magical sword is our personal talent and gifts we have for the world. So our team at Serious Joy, we were talking about this. The North Node is sitting right on the same degree that we had a solar eclipse in Aries back in April. So we had a solar eclipse on the very last day of Aries. And that solar eclipse is what we're calling Excalibur, 29-degree Aries, which is sort of going and going until the job is done. That is sort of the boundless, I'm thinking of like a Robin Hood thing now. I don't want to mix legends, but it's ultimately 29-degree Aries is that you're going to do anything it takes to make it happen. That's the degree where you'll try anything. And usually if you see stunt shows and things like that, like Mission Impossible, I think Mission Impossible is completely at 29 degrees Aries the whole movie. Like it's nothing but 29 degrees Aries the whole time. Action, this and that, and riding motorcycles up. It's the high intense energy and the energy of endurance and pushing beyond our limits. So as we create this new homestead, the subplot of the week is to really hold on and know your talent, know your gifts. This is your weapon, if you want to call it that, for the new age. Your sword of light is your talent that you bring to the world. And that talent is what you love most about yourself. most ultimately. So what we love about ourselves is the talent that we have. It's the spiritual power that we have. It is the sword of Excalibur. And the key question for this week is, what direction am I headed? Which may sound generic, but I think it's going to be the way to, oh, it looks like we're lagging. It looks like we're lagging a little bit here, unfortunately. Got you. So let me know if you guys are seeing lagging as well. And we'll go from there. I'm noticing a little bit of lag in my picture here as well. Oh, you know what? This might help it a bit. I just changed something that might help it. We'll see. So, thank you for the comments, and please let me know if it's lagging for people. Looks like it is on somewhere. Okay. Give me some things. Let's see. Oh, actually, no lag. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Rhiannon. Athena has lag. Lagging on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, that's not fun. Let's try. And we'll see if that clears things up a little bit. Thank you, and I apologize for the lag. Facebook is good. Refresh. Okay, Jennifer says I'm not lagging. So I guess it's based on internet. Like, all right. Thank you for everyone and in Mexico at that. So nice, Jennifer, to see you. Hello. Okay. So we'll work on that and figure out why that might be. As far as the lag is concerned, I don't want to go off and come back, but I will keep going here, and hopefully our recording doesn't get lagged. I think it's okay. Thank you, people. It looks like it depends. Yeah, it's not too much in control. I'm not too much in control stuff. Okay. So this week is about, what direction am I heading? That's the question to ask yourself this week, is what direction am I heading in my life? And I think the reason why that's the key question is because ultimately our feelings confuse us at times. We don't know where we're going with our feelings. Sometimes our feelings hit us upside the head, and we get a little lost because we get overwhelmed with the feeling. This week, we are going from step 22 Cancer to step 29 Cancer. So these are the final degrees of Cancer. And these final degrees of Cancer can be some of the most passionate degrees that there are. And so there will be little moments where we might fall into our emotions for a moment. We might fall into a certain way of feeling about things, and we might get lost in our emotion. So when you find yourself getting lost in your emotion, the key question is, well, what direction am I headed again? Like, I'm heading in the direction of creating my home. I'm heading the direction of updating my family stuff. What direction are we headed? That's the key question to ask ourselves through the week. So this week, what's basically going to happen is we're going to create a vision on, so we have breakthrough on Saturday. So tomorrow we have sort of a breakthrough. Something might break down as far as your future plans, and something might break through. Oh, I got you. It's like a Japanese film that's, so my sound is not connecting to my picture. Gotcha. That's annoying. We'll figure that out for next week. Our apologies for that. This week we're going from a breakdown breakthrough on Saturday of like what the future possibilities are, to creating a vision on Sunday for what we envision ourselves to do, to the new moon on Monday where we accept and take that new vision of ourselves to heart, all the way to committing on Wednesday, acting on Thursday, holding space on Friday, and then final tests the following Saturday. So this is the final catapult launch, basically, of us launching our emotional foundation. And there will be times when the emotions, I think, get very, very heated, because the moon starts in Cancer. So we're very, very tender with the moon in Cancer in the beginning. Then the moon moves into Leo. So our heart is very tied in and connected to what we're feeling. And then the moon moves into Virgo. And so we get caught up in all the feelings of reality and all the knee-jerk actions of reality. So it's going to be a tender week emotionally, and there'll be times when you might feel a little lost, and there'll be times where you have to ask yourself, hey, what direction was I heading again? What were my goals? And one of the things that happens is, as the sun moves up through Cancer, it becomes more and more in opposition to Pluto. So we start to feel the fact that the world is going to be disrupted. We start to feel that we might be challenging world power. We might be challenging authority. And let's remember that authority is ultimately sometimes our tradition. So sometimes tradition is authority. And so you might be challenging tradition in order to get your new foundation in place or your new home in place. And we're going to feel all of that. So the key is to be that compassion to the self, to use your ego to be there for yourself, and to follow through with the direction and choices that you have made ultimately. All right. So I'm feeling a little lag here. I think now's a good time to show a couple of charts of this week and sure to give you a visual. And I'm hoping that this maybe fix our lag as far as me looking like a Japanese film. I can actually see it myself too. So Goddess bless us here in our journey. Let's actually show some charts and dive into this week on a deeper level. Okay. So this is our graphic for the month, Home and Hearth, Getting the Castle in Order, created by my colleague, Robbie Hunt. Thank you, Robbie. The first chart I want to show us is the new moon. This is on Monday. The new moon apex is at 2:31 p.m. on July 17th. Actually, a little bit later than that. I'm just noticing they're not exactly combined, but a couple of interesting features about this new moon. One is it's at step 24, which means this is a new moon of acceptance. A new moon of acceptance means that we are trying to really take in to our heart and accept what our heart really wants as far as the future is concerned. What that makes me feel is that we may be creating something that's beyond our realization of how things actually are possible, is how things can go. So part of this acceptance is knowing where you feel, step 2, the 2 and the 24, where you feel you belong. So this new moon is about, I feel I belong in a great castle. I feel I belong being well cared for. I feel I belong at the top of my game. And really in this new moon, giving yourself a little cuddle time, a little cozy time to just sort of soak in and feel what that feels like, that feeling of belonging. Basically, it's, finding that cozy spot, that cozy home. I've been using the Three Bears example of where Goldilocks finds the bed that's just right. That's sort of what we're looking for. Is our new moon intention is like, this is the perfect comfort, the perfect care. I've got everything I need, my coffee, my blankie, my web, access for reading stories, finding that cozy spot. And what we're ultimately doing is we are creating a family homestead that is our nurturing place. So we have the sun at step 24. We have Juno on Sirius, which is where our heart belongs. I find that very interesting. So we're mindful at this moment of what it is that care means in our daily life. So it's not just feeling that care, it's knowing that care, it's understanding that care. Another interesting aspect, Mercury earlier in the day squares Jupiter at step 11, just before Jupiter goes to step 12. So this means that when Mercury squares Jupiter, our mind has an understanding of what self-love and integrity is. So we come into that self-love and integrity. And I think that's what we're sort of holding, that mental space with Sirius and Juno here. And Venus is at the stationary step 28, where she will be in the retrograde, which begins again late night, Saturday the 22nd. So this is us committing to the feeling of love. Mars is at 4 degrees Virgo, which means it's now time to practice radical self-love with ourselves. And so to some degree, you might be a little daring on the new moon and like go the extra, 9 yards for yourself. You might buy the expensive bed, or you might take yourself to the expensive spa, because Mars at 4 degrees is saying, hey, we got to up the game with our self-care. This is also where Mars is beginning to oppose Saturn here, which means there's a faith versus reality sort of tug of war going on at the same time. This is a good time for a water. I brought water this time. Getting used to live TV. Wait, no sound now? Hold on. Give me more clues of that if that's the case. Okay. So this is Monday and the new moon. Is there anything else I want to say about it? No, I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay. The next key date is going to be Thursday, July 20th. And on this day, we have a couple of aspects that are really important. The first one is that we have, as I mentioned, Mars opposing Saturn. So on Thursday, this is when our test of faith is the highest. Thank you for the sound. Okay. All these false alarms. Somebody just had it on mute and created a panic. On Thursday, step 27 rules the day. So this is the day where you go forward, you sign the lease, you sign the mortgage, you go forward with whatever it is that you intend to do to create your home care. Notice that Mars opposing Saturn means that there's a faith versus reality. Saturn is saying, hey, have faith in yourself. And Mars is saying, and be good to yourself and act on yourself. But Mars in Virgo is also saying that our ego is going to be critical, and there's a propensity for self-sabotage with Mars in Virgo where we pick on ourselves. And so this is where we really have to balance being compassionate and forgiving, and at the same time being assertive and acting on our needs and standing up for ourselves and doing the things that we need to do. So self-care is really important, especially to launch this vision of step 27. Venus at step 28, she's in her stationary degree. This is Love Fest Day, the most loving day of the month. So tell everyone you love that you love them. As the moon approaches Venus on this day, we're going to feel the love, and we're really going to apex and feel. At some point, I think there'll be a climax that we really start to believe that our golden egg is going to manifest, that our dreams are going to come true. But as the moon is climbing up to this degree, we may second guess and we may doubt, just so you know. So it's important that you are, really sticking with the faith and being there for yourself. And the last aspect that's really important about this day, and this is a fate-changing day, is the sun here at 27 degrees Cancer. I need to get better pointers. I'm not sure what this is doing. Is trining Neptune at 27 Pisces. So this means that by taking action to go forward with your homestead, creating a new homestead, creating a new home and family, you are, in fact, putting fate into motion with the sun trining Neptune. So you're probably feeling on Thursday that it's a very fated day, that you've changed. And what I mean by fated, I would think to some degree like, I would think that there would be something like, you're buying your first car, or you're putting money down on, your deposit down for your college tuition. It's like a momentous day. It's like a ribbon cutting sort of ceremony day. And it's part of, one of the major turning points for your karmic history. So this is a landmark moment, I think, on Thursday. And if you're wondering what day to take action to move forward with your plans, Thursday is definitely the day. Okay. Yes, and everything's recorded, folks, so you'll be able to go back and roll back and see things. And I wonder if it's going to be, Japanese dub over when it's recorded. Hopefully it's not. Okay, the next day is actually July 21st. This is next Friday. This will be the day that I'm actually live, but I'm giving you a forecast anyways. This is the day when the sun at 29 degrees will oppose Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, and not just oppose Pluto, but it forms a grand square between the North Node at 29 Aries, the South Node at 29 Libra, squaring the Sun at 29 Cancer, squaring Pluto at 29 Capricorn. So this is a cardinal grand square. Cardinal signs are the signs that usually begin things. So it's always, the beginning of every season, spring, winter, fall, summer. Those are all cardinal signs at launch. Cardinal signs indicate the start of things usually to get us moving into a new season. And so one could easily say with this interpretation that that final moment of the sun in Cancer, right before Venus retrogrades, which is the next day, the sun actually starts to oppose Pluto on Friday, but then continues at 29 degrees on Saturday. But this is probably the start of some sort of world conflict and some sort of personal conflict as well. Now, I don't mean in a bad conflict. It's a big picture thing. Conflict as in we're suing the school board, or conflict as in, we're trying to appeal something in our laws, or conflict in the sense, whatever the conflict is, it's not a crisis conflict. It's a slow moving conflict, because 29 degrees like an iceberg as far as how much the world changes as far as speed is concerned. But it's also like an iceberg in the sense that once it moves, it leaves behind a valley. So 29 degree feels very, very hyper. It moves very, very slow, but it's very, very profound. And so on Friday, by moving forward and sticking to it and keeping our endurance, we are in fact that iceberg that's changing the world. And it's probably rather profound. And I think we can see it. Another interesting aspect on this day, Mercury trines Chiron at 19 degrees Aries. So there's some sort of, this is a real day of following through, keeping your stamina, not giving up, not turning around, that sort of thing. And then lastly, we'll talk the Venus retrograde. This is just a foreshadow of next week's show. But Venus retrogrades on Saturday, July 22nd, the next day. Look at the sun is at Sun 2959 Cancer and Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde is just a few minutes before the sun goes into Leo this year. And of course, Venus will be retrograded until September 3rd for 40 straight days. This will be the focus of our 40 days of self-love. And as I mentioned earlier, we have Venus in 7-degree orb with Chiron. So we're feeling our karma and our past lives that are associated with our heart not getting what it wants, or our heart getting what it, thought, losing what we had. So there's definitely going to be some fear coming up with this retrograde as Venus turns around and starts to head towards Black Moon Lilith, and Black Moon Lilith is heading towards Venus. So, I would imagine the way this manifests is that our heart is very hopeful, but we're also worried that the past won't continue itself. And Mercury on this day, as you can see, at the moment that Venus retrogrades, Mercury is actually conjoining Black Moon Lilith. So we are very mindful of everything that could go wrong as we are hoping for everything to go right. And again, I think that's going to be organic. If you are fearing the worst, that is the universe using this moment to excrete those fears and choose love, Venus, over fear, Black Moon Lilith. The other thing I'll point out, and then we'll go on to our tea time and all 12 signs, is you'll notice a yod here from Pluto to Venus and to Neptune here. A yod is an isosceles triangle. It's the finger of God. And what this is basically saying is, we know you're worried about world conflict and world power and abuse of world power. We know you're concerned about following your destiny and living a life that's purposeful and following through with your bucket list from heaven. But what God Universe is saying with this yod is, take your worries about global domination, take your feelings of your destiny, and create something. Venus at 28, manifest your heart's dreams. What the planets are saying is, and I think this is a good time to go off of the screen share. What the planets are saying is, it looks like I'm still lagging too, that's no fun, is that the answer to world power issues and struggles, and the answer to your destiny, is for you to live in your heart, choose love, Venus at 28, and reconsider what matters most to your heart. This is a time where we're being told to go into our heart and create our personal dreams. The answer is not necessarily picketing Congress or, writing your congressman. Sure, those are good things. The answer is creating goodness, creating love on the planet, bringing love to the planet. And this makes me think of our baby boom generation. The baby boomers all have Pluto in Leo. So their whole generation's goal was to hold space, Pluto, and protect love. And I would say this is probably the most important moment for the baby boomers, maybe in their whole life, as far as what they're doing, because this is the cue. This is the time where everything you picketed for in the 60s and 70s and everything you fought for, it's all for this moment. This is actually the moment where the earth is on the edge of falling into the darkness of fear and hopelessness. And every baby boomer out there, we need your wisdom and your influence. Obviously, you are not necessarily going to go out there and manifest a new AI algorithm. You're in retirement now, but it is time for you to spread that love, to teach those values to your children and your grandchildren, to remind them of the hardships you went through, to put love first and fear second. And I think as Venus retrogrades over every baby boomer's Pluto, this will be your activation cue time for you to do what you're here to do, or send the message that you're here to send. So I think for the baby boomers, this is the most important Venus retrograde of your life. And we're counting on your wisdom out there, because the truth of the matter is Young people don't know. So it's like, so we need the wisdom. So I impart the baby boomers to step out and speak up, even if they're treating you like grandpa on The Simpsons, still do it anyways. All right. I'm a Gen Xer, by the way, if anyone's curious. And my son is a millennial, I believe. Okay. Awesome. So now let's move on to our next point, which is our tea time segment. The way I'm going to wrap up this, and I'll do a little bit of questions at the very end. So yeah, actually, Anna just said, I'm confused. I thought I was a baby boomer, but I have Pluto in Virgo. From an astrological perspective, Anna, you are not a baby boomer you might be according to the Census Bureau of the United States, but according to astrology, you're part of the healer generation. So the Pluto and Leos, Pluto and Virgo people are here to heal the planet. The Pluto and Leo people are here to hold the love for the planet. So there's a distinction there. Absolutely. Okay. So now I want to talk about each of the 12 signs, and that's how we'll wrap this up, is talking about each of the 12 signs. And I thank the people who take notation and post it on YouTube. Thank you so much, by the way, for the people who write the time code. Saves us a bunch of time, and I thank you. And so these are all clickable. You can go back to them after when we have those time codes up in our YouTube. By the way, our YouTube address is youtube.com/SeriousJoyTV, Serious Joy TV. So I'm going to talk about here for all 12 signs, 4 basic things to help you with this upcoming week. One is the new moon, and where the new moon is going to affect you the most. So where you are manifesting from the new moon, how opposing Pluto and Capricorn is affecting you. So where you are transforming your power. The new moon is where your new homestead will be. Pluto and Capricorn is where you're transforming power. What the North Node in Aries is telling you to move ahead with, and also how it's squaring both the sun and Pluto. So it's in a tug of war with all these things. And then lastly, I will tell you where Venus retrograde is going to affect you as well. So this is a full digest of everything going on. All right, starting with the Aries. Aries, you are literally creating homeland security for yourself. This new moon on Monday is accepting a new home, accepting a new foundation, accepting a new groundedness in life. This is very important because you are transforming your power when it comes to your career, your legacy, your parenting, and your retirement. So if you're in retirement, this is transforming how your retirement may go. It's the whole spectrum of our legacy. So Aries, you really are creating a home. With the North Node moving into your sign, it's now time to move ahead with your character and your personality. So you've been working on your character for a long time. Uranus went through your sign already and innovated you out of your old ego issues. Chiron is more than halfway through your sign. You've been healing a lot of your ego issues. God universe is cueing you on stage. It is time for the heroes to step up and move forward with how you want to express your character. And that's how it's coded in. You just be you. You just do you, and you will be doing the world a good place. The South Node in Libra says, this is a time to put your commitments to others behind and focus on the expression of your character. So you're being cued now, not to, cheat on people or anything like that, but definitely move forward with your character's desires and your intentions. And the Venus retrograde for you is going to be literally personal dreams. So you are rewriting your dreams starting next Saturday, when Venus retrogrades. It's time to commit to the feeling of your personal dreams, commit to the feeling of the love of your life, commit to the feeling of loving your children, and explore your heart in depth, because whatever your character is going to do, it needs to be a work of art and a work from the heart. All right. So it's very important that you have that home family foundation in place, because your career is going to be rocked a little bit and you're going to be moving forward with your character and personal dreams. All right. Taurus. Tauruses are manifesting for the new moon a new attitude and their big plans for the world. So Taurus, these are your logical plans, your strategies for what you want to do. They have to keep in mind your own feelings and nurturing yourself. They have to be the right attitude that makes you feel good about yourself. You can't be planning things that make you throw your emotions off balance. And this is going to come into conflict with your original life purpose and your life's meaning. Your life's purpose and meaning is going to change and alter a little bit based on the fact that you are changing what you're here to do now. So there's, with the energy of Pisces for Tauruses, it's putting you in your karmic destined place. So in some cases, your calling and your purpose may be evolving to something that you hadn't thought of before. So there's final rewrites on purpose and final rewrites on your life's meaning. All right. So you're going to find more meaning and more purpose. And sometimes this has to be balanced with your plans. Now, with the North Node in Aries, this is time for Tauruses to completely act on their faith. Okay. And I'll say it again, act on your faith. So faith is not proof. Faith is not evidence. Faith is the unseen. And the only thing I can relate to with this is when I started Soul Garden, I was the first astrologer on YouTube. In fact, YouTube wasn't even around. I had faith that what I was doing was going to be popular. I had faith that what I was doing was going to be needed by others. I just knew it in my soul that this was my calling and that people would show up for it. And it took a long time, but it was true. So Tauruses need to focus on what you have faith in. Do not focus on your lifestyle right now or how things work at work. You're going to let go of lifestyle habits. You're going to let go of attachments to food or attachments to certain things that you've been attached to with your body. And you're going to be focused strictly on faith. Now, with the Venus retrograde, this is a complete rewrite for Tauruses of your home, family, and foundation. You're going to have a change of heart about what your castle is and what your castle needs to be. You're going to face fears around family or face fears to go back to childhood. And you're going to ultimately step into a new feeling of being grounded and secure. So that's our Tauruses. So Tauruses, emotional, new attitude, facing life purpose issues that are going to change. It's now time to go fully with faith, and you're going to have a change of your emotional security. Gemini. Gemini's new moon is creating a new plan for money, abundance, and manifestation. So it's now time to accept and commit to a new plan for money or a new plan for a project that you want to do. It could be both. It could be a project that brings in money. You're laying down the pipeline. This is going to be in conflict with personal boundaries and call for your life to go through a lot of changes. You're going to be uncomfortable for a while in order to make this happen. That's an inevitability. It's not avoidable. And it comes down to having different priorities and having different boundaries with you and the world and you and others. You might have to cut some people out so you have time to do your project, that sort of thing, and move things around. With the North Node in Aries, it's now time for you to go out and be who you're meant to be in the world. So move forward with social ambitions. The South Node in Libra says, step away from your heart's over attachment to different things. So the image I'm sort of getting is Gemini sort of want to hold on to their teddy bear in the crib, and God universe is saying, no, put the teddy bear down, get out there in the public, start shaking hands and kissing babies and networking with people, because it's time for you to go and to do your social calling in the world. Remember, the last time this happened was 2005, when you were called to the world to go out and do what you're here to do. The Venus retrograde for you is going to be having a change of mind, birthing a new attitude, facing fears that you carry in the mind and you harbor in the mind. So facing mental fears and rethinking your logic, rethinking your attitude, changing the way you view, the intellectual way you view everything. And that's going to be necessary for you to make this money and have this abundance, and be necessary for you to find your place in the world over the next 18 months. Cancers, you are on this new moon reinventing your character and image. So this is a brand new image for you. All right. And a new way of expressing yourself. Might be you doing something new. So it's like, perhaps you are going to be, a writer now instead of a plumber. I don't know where I came up with that. So you might change what you actually do, but you are sort of putting on a new hat. You're putting on a new personality. And what's important is this personality must be nurturing to yourself. It must be there for yourself. And and take care of yourself first before others. In fact, that's the opposition of Pluto and Capricorn. It's going to create some friction with your long-term relationship commitments. That could be relationship commitments to the gym or to your trainer or to your husband or to your wife or to your children. You're going to have to rearrange the boundaries around your long-term relationships in order to step into this character and step into this strength. The North Node in Aries is saying for Cancers, it's time to go out and craft your career, craft your legacy. So you're being called now to stand in your career and stand in your legacy, get out of the house. Literally, the South Node is in the home family foundation unit. So God Universe is saying, Cancer, get out of the house, get into the world, go be this new version of yourself. The Venus retrograde for Cancers has to do with money and finances. So you're probably going to have a change of work and a change of heart about money and a change of heart about what you're going to manifest or the projects you're going to be on. And this is all part of the brand new, sparkly new Cancer. And this Cancer, you've been working on this version of yourself for a very long time. So again, I mentioned this last week. It's really time for Cancers to get out there in the world and do their thing. We need you. Leos, it's almost your birthday time. This new moon is a new faith. So you're birthing a new faith, basically. And this new faith is to God, is that you can pull it off to your higher self. So this is a new faith of what your role is, what your destiny is, and you're accepting this fate and you're accepting this new faith. And you are going to do a complete changeover in many ways. We'll talk about it here in a minute. So faith is very important for you, and knowing where your faith is going to be something that's vital for the next year. All right. Due to all the changes. Now, this new faith is going to create conflict with work, create conflict in your lifestyle, create maybe conflict with coworkers. You might have to change boundaries and stuff with coworkers because there might be some tension there because you are moving towards what you have faith in and not what you have actual evidence of or proof of. Okay. Now, the North Node in Aries says, it is now time, Leos, for you to follow your life's purpose, what brings you meaning in life. And the South Node in Libra says, move away from your attitude, move away from your old thinking, move away from conversations and old agreements. Just follow your new life purpose, what brings you meaning and purpose, what means the most to you, and what shines the brightest in your heart. The Venus retrograde is obviously going to affect you more than any sign in the zodiac. This is the only time Venus in your lifetime has gone completely through your sign. And what it's going to be is a complete change of heart about who you are. So you're going to redefine your character and your image and your identity and the way people see you. Yes, you'll get a new haircut. Yes, you'll get new clothes, but it's much more than that. It's that you're going to be standing up in a new role. And for many Leos, this will be coming into your power as king, queen, as influencer. And so this might be for you really coming into your, really being a leader for the first time in your life. Not that you've been a follower, but I don't know if you've tried to consciously get people to follow your love message. And that's the thing. You are the lovers of the zodiac, and love is going to be what saves the planet. So you are here to shine like the sun and inspire people to love themselves the way you do. So that's our Leos. Relationship to God, destiny is what the new moon is. Virgos. Virgos are manifesting a new place in society with this new moon. So you are accepting a new role in society. And this new role is one where you are nurtured as much as you are nurturing. So you have to really be willing to be there for yourself before you try to be there for others. It's a win-win solution is what it has to be. The Pluto and Capricorn, the opposition, and what builds up to that opposition on Friday is that personal dreams are going to change a little bit. Virgos have a lot of things their heart wants to pull off. Some of the toys you might have to put down for a little while or let go of, or you might have to let go of the one that got away and start to move on to where you really belong in the world. So Virgos are going to have to let go of things their hearts are attached to, not forever, but at least for now. Because it might be holding things up, and you're going to have faith that God is not going to drop the ball, that you're going to get what your heart wants. I'm not saying give up on what your heart wants. I'm saying listen to reality. If you have to let go of that toy for a while or let go of the lover that got away, let go, because you have a calling in the world right now that we need. With the North Node in Aries, it means that it's time to transform your life. You're going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a while. You have to be willing to change your boundaries. You're going to have to open up to things that you normally haven't opened up to. You'll have to turn your back on certain materialism and certain material comforts and creature comforts. You have to turn your back on money as a main goal and really focus on transformation of your life as the main goal, transformation of your boundaries as the goal. So Virgos really are going to be at first uncomfortable, but then you're going to amaze all of us, I think, because, you know, once a Virgo gets it, they are professionals. Now, the Venus retrograde for you is through the house of faith. So you are going to have a change of heart about what you have faith in. And this could be something that you once had faith in and then lost faith in, and then now have faith in again. So like if you had a dream in your 20s, and then life was so hard in your 30s, you gave up on that dream. But now in your 40s, your heart wants to do it again. And you feel like that's your calling in the world and that you were just too soon with your vision. You might completely have a change of faith about something that you lost faith in because now you realize it was a matter of timing. It wasn't a matter of being able to do it at large. So I think the Venus retrograde for you, Virgos, I definitely recommend the 40 days of self-love for you because you're going to get to the core of your spiritual karmic fears and you're going to get to the core and the jewel of your own personal faith. And I'm going to take a drink. Also, as I was drinking, I thought of something, which is that Mars is in your sign, Virgo. So you're very testy now. You've got a lot of strength in you. You have a short fuse and a short temper right now. You want to channel that into action. And that faith versus reality is really important for you as well. Really, really important. Libras, you are manifesting a new career legacy with this new moon in Cancer on next Monday, the 17th. This is going to be a new direction based on what you feel is good and healthy for you. This is going to be based on you caring for yourself and not sacrificing yourself. So it has to be, you know, a caretaker position that includes your self-care. In fact, that's the opposition of Pluto, is you're going to have to change boundaries around your home or family or sleep cycle or self-nurturing or nest. You're going to have to make some transformations of what grounds you and what you define security as. In fact, you probably have to, you know, you've probably been denying yourself care. And so the change is probably that you're going to need to care for yourself much more in order to make this happen. That's likely what it's going to be. The North Node in Aries says it's now time for Libras to actually go forward with the new type of relationship you're meant to be in. So your ego, the South Node in Libra, has held on to dysfunctional relationships, and now it's time to be in functional relationships. And you're usually the one that sticks around and tries to make it work and bridges the way and patches things. But God Universe is saying, no, get out of your ego's desire to fix everything and go with what works in relationships. Move forward with the relationships that work, leave behind the relationships that don't work, because this is a moment where people are going to switch teams anyways. And it was probably destined for some people to find new partners or new associations if Libras are moving on. So Libras have been enabling sometimes the wrong personalities on the planet out of their compassion. And God Universe is saying, go with what works now. Your ego has to let go of obsessing on making it work. Or obsessing on making things balance, or your ego obsessing on being the peacemaker. That's definitely not what God Universe is calling for right now. It's not calling for peace right now with the North Node in Aries. It's calling for change. So you are a proponent of that change by no longer trying to be the peacekeeper all the time. I'm not saying don't be a peacekeeper, but I am saying that your well-being comes first and the relationships that work come first, okay? Now, the Venus retrograde for you is going to be with your world calling. Literally, Libras are getting reassigned out in the world. It's time to follow your heart with what you want to do in the world. It's time to follow your heart with what your calling is. You've always been a person who supports others, but now at the North Node in Aries, you want to make sure you are supporting yourself before you support others. And whatever worldview and world role you take, It has to come from the heart. But because Black Moon Lilith is there, I would imagine that you're being called to do something you were once afraid of. So I would almost think that if you're afraid of it, that's probably a good sign you're meant to do it right now. So if you're afraid of running for office, or you're afraid of being the boss, or you're afraid of being the lead architect, it's probably because it's time for you to do that. So for Libras, what you fear is probably a guide of what you're meant to do. Scorpios. Scorpios are manifesting a new life purpose and meaning. And this means that you're going to be emotionally attached now to a new direction your life is taking. And this direction is nurturing to you and nurturing to the world both. Again, Scorpios, I talked about this last week. You can sometimes be sacrificial. You sort of throw yourself under the bus. It's now time to make sure that you are included, that you are cared for. The conflict will be with old attitudes and old thoughts, that your mind has to let go of certain logic, that your mind has to let go of certain, things that you are demanding, and you have to be more flexible in your thinking in order to follow this purpose. So it's about what you believe, not about what you think. I'll say that again. It's about what you believe. It's not about what you think, Scorpio. Okay. And you are the best risk taker there is in the zodiac. So I wouldn't worry about it. The North Node in Aries says it's now time to perform in your daily life. It's now time to create the perfect lifestyle. Move away from questions of faith. Okay. Don't question your faith. Don't question your karma. Don't worry about how, God has had it out for you up until now. That was always in the past, and that was always based on your karma. Now it's about performance, having the right tools to perform, the right support to perform, the right resources to do your best on your job. This would be when you go and buy the shiny brand new vacuum, or you buy the cool new tool set or the power drill. Like, you need to have everything necessary to succeed. And it's time to change your entire lifestyle now to the golden age. All right. The Venus retrograde for Scorpios is your legacy, your career, and your retirement plans are going to change. You're going to have a change of heart. If you're in a job that you love, you'll be taken to a higher level now of greater leadership. I do believe Scorpios are now going to be leading, where in the past they've been mostly support roles. They do lead, but they're reluctant to lead because they take their job so seriously. But it's now time to only do what you love and to face your fears about leadership. Okay. I think Scorpios are the commanders of integrity and personal boundaries, and the world is a hot mess when it comes to boundaries. So you look around you everywhere. We need the Scorpios, and we need you calling, bullshit when it's not appropriate. So I believe that the focus is to focus on that lifestyle with the North Node in Aries, and face any fears you have about success now over this 40 days of self-love. This would be a great for you too. If you want to be successful in your career, do the 40 days. I think it's going to help you tremendously. We're going to go to Sagittarius, but I'm going to take a drink. Okay. I see people giving each other readings in the chat. I love that. Okay. Sagittarius is Sagittarius. This is going to be a life transformation for you with this new moon. You're being called to step away from certain obligations to money, step away with Pluto and Capricorn. It's about your boundaries around money, your boundaries around abundance. In some cases, I think Sagittarius is a put off money. So when I say change your boundaries, it may be that you actually make money a priority, because I think a lot of Sagittariuses are here for the ride and here for the fun, and they haven't always been here for the dollar. And that's really high and altruistic of you, but you have to retire too at someday and have money in the bank. So this new moon is that you're going to have new boundaries. You're going to transform your life. That means that you might change roommates, you might change husbands, you might change jobs, you might change churches, you might change your routine. It's based on how you feel, basically, and what your heart can really accept as comfortable. So the new moon is about a transformation of how things are going to change as far as where your comfort zones are. That water's coming up. Again, the Pluto transformation of boundaries is with money, manifestation, and big picture creation. Now, where the North Node is pointing for Sagittarius is personal dreams. This is the first time since Christmas of 2004 and all of 2005 that God has said to Sagittarius, Go for your personal dreams. The South Node in Libra says, forget what the world says. Forget what your mom says. Forget what your social media says. Follow your heart right now. So Sagittariuses, if you're not in love, I think God is telling you it's time to start chasing after what you love. And that starts with, the love of your life. That if you're already in love, that would be the creation of a lifetime or the experience of a lifetime. It's also an indicator to start having children. If you've been thinking about children, this is a strong indicator. This would be time to have children. Listen to your intuition about this, and don't worry about your reputation. Don't worry about your social following. Don't worry about what people say at the water cooler at work. It doesn't matter. The North Node in Aries says it's time to go for it for the next 18 months. Go for your personal dreams. Now, the Venus retrograde in Leo for Sagittarius is with your life purpose and what brings meaning in life, your belief structure, basically. So Sagittarius are going to have a change of beliefs. You're going to change what you believe. You might change religions. You might change religions. You might change travel plans. And I said last week, that's a big deal when a Sagittarius decides not to go on a vacay or change their vacation. So you might change where you travel, but you're going to face your fears. And one of the fears I know Sagittariuses have is they fear they don't know enough. They fear that they don't have enough knowledge. They don't know enough information to pull the job off. And I think that's the biggest fear. You know enough, and you'll learn as you go. You are such a great absorber of information and knowledge. You don't need to worry about knowing enough. You've got the internet and a search tool. You can figure it out. So I think it's a change of the meaning of life, and it's really a transformation of your life with the new moon in Cancer. Capricorns are going to have a new moon based on new long-term relationships. So you're probably going to commit to a new level of your existing relationships, or you're going to commit to a new relationship, or you might commit to a divorce and say, that's it, I'm done. This is also your relationship to corporation, your relationship to your portfolio. It's your relationship to everything that can be changed. The key, though, is that it feels right, that you feel right doing it, that it feels comfortable, it feels cozy, and it feels safe. So really the creation of those safe relationships that make you feel really good. Now, the Pluto in Capricorn means there's going to be change of your boundaries. All right. So around your ego is going to have to let go of some things that you thought you had to have, or you were insisting to have. Capricorns are sort of like, they hold so tight, their ego stays super focused, and you may have to let go of some of your ego's expectations or self-judgment, or let go of an image. So maybe you had the image of being the perpetual bachelor, but now you're going to get married. You're going to let go of some character image or ego attachment in order to have this calm and balanced and emotionally graceful relationship. And that's one of the key words of this new moon in Cancer is grace, that we're going to be graceful. Now, the North Node in Aries says it's time now for Capricorns to nest. Okay, it's time to nest. So it's time to build the bunker. It's time to, buy the house. The South Node in Libra says, don't worry about your career. Don't worry about the business. Don't worry about your legacy. Focus on your home, your family, your emotional needs. It's time to get your nest in order for the next 18 months and let your, career stuff go for now, because you are now in a place where relationships and home and family are more important than ego and career. And I say that, when I say that, that's for the next 18 months or so. But, and again, let go of the old character and ego attachments. Okay. Aquariuses, you are committing now with this new moon to a lifestyle. So to a new lifestyle. This is how you work, your routines, the tools you use, the people you work with. It could be a job change. It could be a job promotion that you're now going to work at a new level. It could be a new industry. What's important about it, Aquarius, is that it feels good and it feels at home. It's not something you want to run away from. It's something that you really want to, that nurtures you. And that's the key. You want a lifestyle that nurtures you. You want a job that nurtures you. You want a daily routine that nurtures you. So it's creating habits and lifestyle patterns around your emotional greater good. and literally judging if it's good for you based on your feelings, not based on if it's going to make you money or going to get you higher up in the corporation or anything else. If it feels good and it feels grounding and it feels nurturing, it's the right place. With Pluto and Capricorn, you're going to have to let go of subconscious karmic triggers, okay? You know things piss you off. You know things trigger you. You know you have a certain pattern with certain types of people or certain types of situation. And the universe is saying you've got to let go of trying to control those situations and trying to prevent those karmic things from happening. This is very much a let go and let God sort of transit with you with Pluto and Capricorn, and really letting go of certain fears that have managed to control your life. And by the way, a fear is like, if you're afraid to drive across the country because one time your car broke down, you can't let your life be held up from that fear. You can't, deliberately avoid travel because you have this fear. So it's not that you are a victim of fear or fall into fear. It's that you've allowed fears to control you and control your path. So the universe is saying, change your boundaries around faith and fear. Hold the faith, let go of the fear, and build a lifestyle based on care. Now, the North Node in Aries says that it's now time to go forward with all of your big ideas. So God universe needs Aquarius's big ideas. If you have a solution, if you have an idea to change the world, if you have an idea for AI, basically, I think these are age of Aquarius ideas. And God universe is saying, let go of, don't worry about education. Don't worry about experience on your resume. Don't worry about not having traveled there before. Just go forward and go forward with your ideas. If you're an Aquarius who's an influencer or a messenger, you're being cued now to go forward with your message and put it out there and let go of any doubts you may have or beliefs you may have. Don't worry about knowing enough or being educated enough. Put your ideas out there. We need them, and we need them now. We can't have the age of Aquarius without the Aquariuses. The Venus retrograde for you is entirely in your long-term relationships. So it is entirely with how you relate to others. It is all with the people you choose, your relationship to chocolate, your relationship to work, your relationship to everything. And you are working out some major fears when it comes to relationships with Black Moon Lilith in this particular space. So it's time to really follow your heart, Aquarius, in relationships. You're an air sign. You tend to intellectualize. You tend to distance yourself. You're brilliant, but you don't always give into the corny, the child, the loving part of yourself. You try to play it cool a lot of times. And what the Venus retrograde is saying is it's time to be really loving and bond in those loving relationships that you have. And face whatever fears you have about rejection or whatever you may have had karmically. So Aquas, I think, I have a feeling that a key to your role in the new age will be your relationships, because the new age is the age of love, and love for you is the people that you surround yourself with. So it's time to surround yourself with all the people you love and not put time and attention in anything or anyone that you don't love. All right. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces, you're being called now to manifest your personal dreams. So the new moon in Cancer is around personal dreams. That means it's time to surrender to what your heart really wants. If you want to, if you don't want to practice law and you want to be a basketball player, then surrender to that feeling, surrender to that golden life, surrender to that golden age. It's now time to emotionally create a place in your heart that you can live every day of the week. Pisces need to live in their heart because that's when they twinkle the most. All right. And with Saturn in your sign, you really are overcoming your bad karmic habits with yourself. So this is a new age. I don't think you're going to sabotage it. I don't think you're going to give up on it like you have in the past. Those were all trial runs based on karma. I believe this is the real deal. Now, with Pluto and Capricorn, this means you're going to have to make some boundary changes with society, with your friends, with your reputation. It might change. You had this reputation for being a killer lawyer, a shark lawyer, and now you're going to play basketball or you're going to be a musician. So you're going to have to change how you associate with the world, and you're going to have to change, you have to change who you let in to your circle and who you don't. And there might be some tension, especially with this square coming up. So recognize that your dreams come first, and the people who are meant to be with you will follow you, and the people who are not meant to be will fall away. And that's going to be part of the natural transition with the South Node in Libra. With the North Node in Aries, it's now time to go for money. So you're being told it's now time for the next 18 months to follow what you feel you are worth, to go and try to make the money, to invest in the financial aspects of life that you want, to make the big purchases in life, and to move away from certain boundary restrictions that you once held. You might have been very closed. Again, this example of quitting being a lawyer to be a rock star is a perfect example, because all your boundaries around being a lawyer and being professional and getting up at 5 a.m. for your clients. It's like, so all your boundaries will change now that you're a rock star. Now that you're a rock star, you'll be up late at night and you'll have late night gigs, and you'll be busy from Friday through Sunday, and you'll be off Monday and Tuesday. So the North Node in Aries says, put your money where your mouth is, invest in yourself, invest in things, invest in abundance, and get rid of the old boundaries that said no in the past. And your old way of guarding yourself. Now, the Venus retrograde in Leo is going to be through your 6th house. So Pisces look like they're going to have a complete change of heart about how they want to live. So my example of lawyer to rock star is a perfect example, because you're going to realize that you want to live a different life, that you're loving every day. This is the cue from the universe for Pisces to follow their heart and live a life of love. That will be where you are the greatest spiritual influence on other people, and you will end up twinkling in people's eyes because you are loving your life. It does mean you'll have to face your fears, Black Moon Lilith, when it comes to things in your life. So if you're afraid you'll go broke, or you're afraid that you'll never find customers, whatever those fears are for that lifestyle change, you will have to face them as Venus retrogrades over Black Moon Lilith. But once you face them, you face them. So Pisces are going for their personal dreams. And that tells you right there, you don't need to know anything else, that the new age is really here if Pisces are being cued to go after their personal dreams, make money, and find a life that they love instead of processing karma, right? It's a big deal. Okay. And that wraps up our tea time. Yay. I want to remind everyone, I'll take some questions here. If you have a couple of questions, I'll ask a couple of questions. This did go longer than I expected, so I'm still getting the time down. I want to max out at 90 minutes for these things. And then hopefully in the future, I'm going to have another component. In fact, one of the things that I am going to be doing is I'm going to be interviewing other light workers out there. I want to interview other people, tarot readers. I want to interview healers, different modalities. And I want to tag it on the end of this show. So I want this show to go a little shorter than it is. And I want to end with an interview if I can. And if I can't get it in, then I'll interview on a second show during the week. We'll have to see how this unfolds. But if you out there have a recommendation for me, of who you think I should interview, I would love it if you send our corporation an email at support@seriousjoy.com. support@seriousjoy.com. Just give us the link to the person on YouTube or the practitioner that you think would be a great interview. And obviously I'm going to interview a little differently than other people interview. So I think it's going to be compelling and interesting. Once again, if you want to follow us on any social media, I do put out a Zodiac Weather 7 days a week that tells you the weather for the day. It's on all my platforms, and you can have access to all of our corporate platforms and my personal platforms by going to seriousjoy.social, seriousjoy.social. Also, do not forget, we have the 40 days of self-love. You want to sign up by next Saturday. It's just $3.99 for the first month. By the way, the program is 40 days. We guide you with a journaling prompt every day, and people change their life. The goal here is to manifest your heart's truth. All right. And our subplot is finding our inner Merlin. So I have found, and I'll tell these stories, that if you carry an intention for 40 days, starting on the first day of Leo, all the way to the 11th day of Virgo, it will manifest. It will manifest. Okay. If you hold this intention. So that's the big picture of what we're doing. If you're ready to manifest a car or the love of your life, this is some metaphysics that does work. I have people that have met their true love, that have gotten mortgage approved for a house, that have bought the car of their dreams, all through this 40 days of self-love, because your heart is the key and the power of your life. So If you join us at Serious Joy, we have our whole team of practitioners. They're going to all coordinate to pray to Archangel Ratziel to clear our heart's wounds with sound healing with Kristen Ryder, special deep historical features with Robbie Hunt, and myself guiding you every day in the pep talks. Again, seriousjoy.com. In fact, actually, I have a code here that we can put this up. There we go. You can even hit the barcode there for seriousjoy.com. It says $3.99. And you will not regret it. People love our service, and I love being there for them. It's very deep. This show gives you the big picture, and Serious Joy gives you the nano, if you want to know. It gives you the real nano ability. Okay, with that said, are there any questions? I will just take a drink here and listen. Someone says, I don't need to hear, I want to hear your viewpoint. No need for guests, says Barbara. I'm going to ask the guests about their modalities. I'm not going to ask the guests about the stuff I report on. I'm very curious about, different healing modalities. I'm curious about different methods of tarot. I'm curious about other aspects of that complement astrology that I'm not an expert of. So I'm not going to, ask people for their opinion on what I think about astrology. I'm going to come and deliver the goods, and it's going to be at the end of the show. So you'll get everything you've always wanted at the top, and people want to stick around, can stick around for the other. So it's really about, I want to unite our light, our community. And I feel like we need a main place where we can all come together, including other people and other light workers. So I have a question here from Misty Gypsy, and she writes, how does an astro forecast apply to one who has had a dark heart and dark intentions? What areas of their astro should I look at to protect myself from them? Thank you and love to you. What areas of their astro? That's a good question, Mystic Gypsy. If you have access to their chart, look where their Black Moon Lilith is. That's what they're afraid of. Look at where their Pluto is. That's where they have boundary issues, and they have lost themselves due to boundary problems. Look at their South Node. That's where they get stuck. Look at their Chiron. That's where they're really wounded. So a lot of people who go into darkness, they're falling into darkness around their Chiron, their Black Moon Lilith, and their Pluto, and their South Node. That's where we usually fall into the abyss. And so you can sort of see what makes them stuck, and you can create the appropriate boundaries or avoid them in those areas. That's what I would do. My life changed after doing 40 days during COVID. Can't wait to do it again. I love your service, from a Facebook anonymous user. Chris, are you going on any summer vacations? I don't know yet. I am planning a vacation coming up on Christmas already, but I have not planned yet on summer. I might. That's a good question. I'm not sure yet. I'm just now getting back in the seat. Okay. I'm looking for other questions. People like the idea. That's great. So uplifting. Okay. So, do the nodes have connect? So Kat Ryder asks, hi, Kat. I see your posts all the time, by the way, on Facebook. Do the nodes have connection to past lives? Yes. The nodes are interesting. They represent several past lives. So the nodes sort of represent a conscious direction that you are picking up and moving forward with in this lifetime. And they represent a theme of past lives. Whereas Black Moon Lilith might be a specific past life, Chiron might be a few past lives that has a few errors, Waldemoth might be a specific past life. The South Node represents for many past lives now. Okay. So it's sort of a theme, and it's a long-term trend of the soul. So if your South Node is in Scorpio, you've been very guarded for many past lives. And your North Node in Taurus would say, hey, it's time to focus on manifesting and stop focusing on, boundary issues, betrayals, cheating, people being cheated on. So you sort of get stuck in all the boundary issues. And so, if you have a South Node in Scorpio, you've spent several past lives, either locking people up in a jail or being locked up in jail, or, being overly, involved in sexual stuff and not necessarily in creation stuff, North Node and Taurus. So it represents a theme of how your past lives have gone. How Sweet It Is asks, how do you follow Black Moon Lilith? I have mine in Leo at 18 degrees in the 8th house. How might Venus in Leo retrograde or Cazimi do for me? Good question. Okay. So if you have Black Moon Lilith at 18 degrees in Leo, then you literally were betrayed in a past life, probably cheated on, or the love of your life was killed or murdered. You did something you regretted, because 18 nets to a 9, which means you did something you regretted and it created total trauma and sorrow, most likely, and pain. So the Venus and the Cazimi is when Venus and the sun will come together. If anyone doesn't know, that's when the Venus crosses in front of the sun. That's the moment when we come to terms in our heart. Now that's going to happen at step 20 Venus, step 20 Leo. So that Cazimi is going to be us really having a change of how we see our future, because this is all in the 8th house for you. How sweet it is. It means that you're going to really reconsider certain boundaries you have. You're going to have to face directly whatever that trauma of loss was, which means you might have a moment where you think you are lost or you think you've lost everything. And you're going to ultimately decide to change your life. And this may be that you decide to let go of a relationship, or you may decide that you are in love with someone that you've been blocking and sort of putting walls up against. So how do I follow Black Moon Lilith? I follow the mean Black Moon Lilith, and I use oscillating as a trigger event. A Facebook user asks, is 40 days of self-love similar to doing shadow work? Actually, it's the opposite. It's love work. And I see the delay here in the video. It's gotten a little worse. So this is definitely a Japanese film. Hello, we love you. You are not going to be good. 40 days of self-love is a journal exercise that allows you that asks your heart many questions and then has your heart compare it to other parts of yourself. And what you see is it reveals to you how you treat your heart. And so if you treat your heart poorly, then yes, I guess it could be some shadow work. But the whole time we have a whole community of love and light at Serious Joy. We're all supporting each other. We're all commenting. We're all sharing our journal entries at times. So if you go in that space, you have a lot of support for you during that time. And what you end up you get to the heart of what really matters. And what it does is it clears the mind out of this space. It clears the ego out of the space. It clears emotions out of the space and allows us to focus specifically on our heart's intentions and our heart's desires. So it is the greatest heart clearing exercise. And I channeled it, I believe, from Archangel Ratziel in 2017. Okay, I'll do 2 more questions. Oh, good. People are liking the guest speakers. What house does divorce fall under? Usually the 8th house, Anna. Anna Sasso asks, what house does the divorce fall under? Usually the 8th house. Sometimes the 11th, because you're changing your social status in the world. Sometimes the 5th, because it's a heartbreak. Sometimes the 7th. So it can vary. It sort of depends on a whole bunch of stuff. But usually the most divorce I find when there's a major transit in the 7th house, you realize you need a divorce. And when the transit moves to the 8th house, you get a divorce. That's what I normally know. So you realize the marriage is over in the 7th house and you end the marriage in the 8th. That's what I usually find. Come to Georgia, says Alexis. So good to see you, Alexis. I just may. Jennifer Perry, so good to see you. Shout out. Maybe I'll go to Mexico with you guys next time. So Elf asks, ELF, I guess that's Elf, but there's a space there, so that's clever. Being born on Sag 29 Capricorn cusp, is there one sign's aspect that I should prioritize over the other? That is a typical 29 Sagittarius 29 Sagittarius question. 29 is a Grandmaster Sag. There's so many philosophies. Our sun sign is what we follow the most because that's our heart. So that's why classic zodiac horoscopes are correct, is because our heart is the most important part of us. The sun is the center of the solar system. So really, your sun is what matters most, where the sun is right now and where your sun is in your natal chart. So I always put the sun first. And that's where we shine and that's where we're emanating from. That's the most important. Then I would say to a Sagittarius, anything going through your ninth house is very important. And you might look at where Jupiter is as well, because that's also a major influence in a Sagittarius too, is Jupiter. Linda St. Clair says, can we plan an SJ retreat? It is in the works. I'll just say that and say no more. We are interested in SJ retreat. Obviously, there's a lot of complications there. But it is something we want to do. Absolutely. Okay, one more question and I'll call it a day. Thank you for all the thanks. Again, please email us with your suggestions about who to bring on the show. Someone asked, will I ever do a video for Saturn returned? Okay. I may. I'll take that consideration, Melody. Thank you. And Melanie, who comments after that on YouTube, asks, can you speak more on the 12-year cycle that's beginning? Okay, I will end with this question. We're beginning a 12-year cycle ultimately is based on Jupiter. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. And we have an 18-month cycle with the North Node, for instance. But every time Jupiter is in Taurus, we manifest new values. Okay, so it's about having new values. I used to value my time at work. Now I value my time with my family. I used to value, video games all the time. Now I value my fitness. So it's a change of values. And over the next 12 years, we will now, and when Jupiter goes into a new sign, it changes that spectrum. It changes our beliefs around that sign, and it stays that way for 12 years. Actually, 6 years when it opposes, there's some edits to it. And there's some edits when Jupiter squares, Taurus. So when Jupiter goes into Leo, there'll be some edits. When Jupiter goes into Scorpio, there'll be some edits. When Jupiter goes into Aquarius, there'll be some edits. But overall, our value system will be the same for the next 12 years. And remember, values are based on the principles of what I call step 10. It is what we put our energy and time into, our time and energy. Our time is step 0. Our energy is step 1. And that's what Taurus is. I manifest, step 10. Is that it? Like that? So basically we are changing our values as a society, as a species, as a culture, as a family, as individuals. And this is very important right now. It's a good way to end the broadcast because we're not going to manifest our personal dreams unless we value those principles behind them. We're not going to manifest the golden egg and golden age unless we change our values to support those interests, and we value ourselves and give ourselves the important credit necessary for that to happen. So that's why I said this whole week with Jupiter at 11 and then 12, you really want to believe in your capabilities and believe in yourself this week, and give God universe time to prove you right. Okay. All right, everyone. Yay. Remember, all my links are at seriousjoy.social. Seriousjoy.com is for the 40 days of self-love. I'll be back next Friday with another Friday Live. Until then, remember, I love you. I love each and every one of you. Live, love, be.